The last guest at room 307. The hotel clerk handed me my room key, then quietly said if someone knocks exactly 3 times tonight, don't answer. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. At exactly 3:03 a.m., 3 slow knocks echoed through my room. The hallway was empty, but another knock came from the bathroom, behind the mirror. I found an old maintenance tunnel leading to a hidden room filled with abandoned suitcases. Every suitcase had a guest's name, except one. It had mine. Inside were my wallet, my watch, and clothes I hadn't even packed yet. The hotel manager admitted the building was once a hospital, and every few years, someone reported finding a suitcase that seemed to belong to them. I checked out immediately. A week later, I opened my closet at home. The suitcase was sitting inside. If I never brought it home, who did?
I found a phone that was sending me messages from tomorrow. I found it buried near my house with no password and only one contact saved. My name. At first, the messages were harmless. It told me what time my friend would call and what my teacher would say the next day. Everything came true. Then I got a message that said, "Don't go home tonight." 5 minutes later, I saw someone standing outside my house. Subscribe for part 2.
I found a key hidden inside my grandfather's old watch, and it unlocked something nobody in my family knew existed. After my grandfather passed away, I inherited his watch. While cleaning it, I noticed something rattling inside. There was a tiny key wrapped in a note that said, "Only open it when you're ready." I searched the entire house until I found an old door hidden behind shelves in the basement. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a small room filled with family photos, journals, and newspaper clippings. Every wall was covered with notes about a fire that happened decades ago. A fire my family always claimed was an accident. The last journal ended with one sentence: "If you're reading this, it means they never told you who really started it."
I ignored the message, and that was my biggest mistake. I stood there watching the person outside my house. They weren't moving. They were just staring at my front door. Then the phone buzzed again. The message said, "Whatever happens, do not let them see you." I turned off the lights and hid. A few minutes later, the person left something on my doorstep. I opened the door and found an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a picture of me holding the same phone, taken 10 years from now. Then another message appeared: "You need to stop yourself before it happens." Subscribe for part 3.
I got into an elevator, and it stopped on a floor that doesn't exist. When the lights came back, I was back in the lobby. The notebook was still in my hands, and the first page described everything that happened that night, word for word. Subscribe for more mystery stories.
I finally found out who was sending me the messages, and I wish I didn't. I looked closer at the picture and noticed something terrifying. The person holding the phone wasn't a stranger. It was me. The phone sent one last message saying, "You have 24 hours to change what happened." I searched through every message until I found the first warning. It wasn't trying to save me from someone else. It was trying to save me from a mistake I made in the future. The phone disappeared the next morning, but one message was left behind: "You changed everything." Subscribe for more mystery stories.
I confessed to a crime I never committed, because someone gave me no choice. When I was 15, someone started leaving anonymous letters in my locker. They knew everything about me, my family, my friends, even conversations I'd only had in private. The final letter said if I didn't confess to a theft at school, they'd reveal a secret that would destroy my family. Terrified, I admitted to something I never did. I was suspended, lost all my friends, and nobody believed I was innocent. Years later, I found out who wrote the letters, and it wasn't a stranger. It was someone I trusted every single day. Subscribe for more mystery stories. The locked room nobody could open. Everyone in my family was told to never open the locked room upstairs. But one night, I heard someone whisper my name from inside. Curiosity got the best of me. I found the old key hidden inside my grandmother's dresser and unlocked the door. The room looked untouched for years. There were dusty toys, old family photos, and a tape recorder sitting on a table. When I pressed play, a voice said, "If you're hearing this, you're the only one left who can know the truth." Then I noticed every picture in the room had one person's face scratched out. I turned one photo over and read the name on the back. It was my name. even though the picture was taken 20 years before I was born. Subscribe for more mystery stories.
The confession my dad hid. The day my dad passed away, I found a letter that started with, "I've lied to you your entire life." The letter explained that there was one room in our house I was never allowed to enter. He begged me to leave it locked forever. I couldn't. When I opened the door, it looked empty except for an old television. As soon as I plugged it in, it started playing home videos I'd never seen. The last video showed my dad looking into the camera and saying, "If you're watching this, don't let them know you remember."
I answered my own phone call. My phone rang at 3:17 a.m., and the caller ID was my own number. I answered, expecting silence. Instead, I heard my own voice whisper, "Don't leave your house tomorrow." I thought it was someone using AI to prank me. Then the voice told me exactly what I was wearing and described my room perfectly. Before hanging up, it said, "You're running out of time." The next morning, everything happened exactly the way the call predicted. That night, my phone rang again. This time, I was the one making the call. The missing voice. I drove to the abandoned cabin, and I wish I hadn't. The place was exactly like the photo. Dust covered everything, but the front door was unlocked. Inside, I found old footprints leading downstairs. In the basement was a tape recorder with one cassette already inside. I pressed play. It was my cousin's voice again. He said, "If you're listening to this, you're already too late. Someone followed me here, and they're probably following you now." Right as the recording ended, I heard slow footsteps walking across the floor above me. Subscribe for part 3.
The diary that knew my future. I found a diary in my attic, and the last page had tomorrow's date. I opened it expecting old memories, but every page described events from my life before they happened. It knew when I broke my arm, when we moved houses, even the day my dog ran away. The handwriting wasn't mine, but it knew everything about me. I flipped to the last page, and it described exactly what I was doing at that moment. My heart started racing as I read the final sentence. "Don't look behind you." I froze. Then I heard someone whisper, "You weren't supposed to read this yet."
My reflection wasn't copying me. I looked in the mirror, and my reflection smiled before I did. I thought I was imagining it until it happened again the next night. Then my reflection started doing little things differently, blinking at different times and turning its head before I moved. I covered the mirror with a blanket, but every morning, the blanket was lying neatly folded on the floor. On the third night, I worked up the courage to look again. My reflection raised a finger to its lips and whispered, "It's your turn to stay in here."
Family secrets. Right before my grandmother died, she grabbed my hand and whispered, "Your parents have been lying to you your whole life." The next morning, I searched her room and found a tiny key hidden inside her jewelry box. It unlocked a door in our basement that I'd never seen before. Inside were old family photos, birth certificates, and a wooden box with my name on it. There was also a letter from my grandmother that read, "The truth was hidden to protect you." Inside the box was an adoption certificate with my name on it. My parents weren't my biological parents. They'd been raising me as their own my entire life. When I confronted them, they both started crying. But one question still haunts me. What were they protecting me from?
The footsteps stopped right outside the basement door. I held my breath as the doorknob slowly turned, but nobody came in. When I finally walked upstairs, the cabin was empty. On the kitchen table sat a fresh note that hadn't been there before. It read, "You finally listened." Underneath the note was today's newspaper, and another voicemail notification appeared on my phone. I pressed play. It was my own voice saying, "Leave now, before you disappear like I did." The voicemail was time-stamped tomorrow. The haunted hotel. I checked into the cheapest hotel in town, but the front desk warned me, "Whatever you do, don't open room 307. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to someone knocking 3 times on my door. When I looked through the peephole, the hallway was completely empty. A minute later, the knocking came again, this time from inside the room. I couldn't sleep, so I walked down the hall to room 307. The door was slightly open, Inside, the room looked abandoned. Dust covered everything except an old guest book lying on the bed. The last name written inside was mine. Next to my name was tomorrow's date and one sentence: checked out, never seen again. I ran to the lobby, but the receptionist looked confused and said there hasn't been a room 307 here for over 30 years. If room 307 never existed, then who opened the door for me?